welcome back to They Did What? Your source for the internet's craziest, most entertaining stories where I go over them, analyze them, and most certainly make fun of them. Today, I give you a story titled, Am I Wrong for Ending a 20-Year Marriage Because I Learned My Wife Cheated on Me While We Were Dating? And a shout out to Shane for sending me this story. And guys, like the title said, this is about a guy who's been married for 20 years. He's 43 right now. Thought he had a good marriage. He's a father, 2 kids. And lo and behold, at a social event where his wife's friends from college were, after some drinking and all and gossiping, he found out that she wasn't exactly the gal he thought she was. Because back in college, when he thought they were in an exclusive committed relationship, doing long distance, turns out that she was hooking up with Chad, Tyrone, and Bob and Bill left and right. And now he wants to divorce her. And to no surprise, he's the big villain. Because, it shouldn't matter what she did back in college and all that. And I've been going to go over here making the point, guys, that you better do your homework on who you marry, because there could be a whole can of worms that can come open later in life, and dealing with that. And if you find out there's the whole can of worms, you have every right to walk away, in my opinion. And by the way, guys, it's storms coming in here, so bear with me. Hopefully it doesn't rain too hard here, otherwise I got to pause the video or stop it. So as it starts off, says, my wife, a 44-year-old female, and I, a 43-year-old male, have been married for 20 years. We started dating in high school when I was a junior and she was a senior. We were long distance for her first 2 years of college while I was in high school and did 1 year community college. Then we went to college in the same city for a year and have lived together ever since. Well, smack for doing the long distance thing. Now, you didn't know any better, but these things usually don't work out. We got married the summer after I graduated college. Our marriage has been pretty great so far, but I initiated a divorce after I discovered that she was sleeping with multiple other men for the 2 years we were long distance. Well, I have no problem with that. In particular, I might add, his kids are adults, or darn close to that. So, well, listen to this, how he's made out to be the bad guy here. Well, just after Christmas, we got together with a few friends of hers from college to catch up, have dinner, and hang out. We talked about a lot of stuff, and my wife mentioned that we met in high school. Not that we dated, just met. Her old college roommate commented that it was crazy that we met in high school, had a few wild years in college, and ended up together. He's probably like, what do you mean, wild years in college? I played along and commented that I didn't know my wife was as crazy as I was. The roommate started to tell a story, but my wife cut her off and said she was uncomfortable about it. I said something was up, so I said that actually we started dating in high school, and we were together for my wife's entire time of college. Well, all my wife's friends got really quiet, and the rest of dinner was quite awkward. On the way out, one of her roommates took me aside and said, I should have an honest conversation with you about what happened in college. Well, that's a good friend. Or she secretly hates the wife and has always been jealous of her, who knows? I asked my wife on the way home, and she kind of blew me off. I told her it was important that she was honest with me, and again, she said it wasn't important. Pay attention to people's actions here. Clearly there's an issue. He's upset about something. Nope, she doesn't care. It's not important. What does that say about her? When we got home, I told her I was going to stay at my brother's house until she was ready to talk about what happened in college. The next day she came over and admitted to sleeping with several men during her first 2 years of college. I thought it wasn't important, sugar muffin. Sweetie, honey. Yeah, we're done. Pack your bags, get the fuck out. Several men in college, huh? And she was acting like it was no big deal before. She said she didn't consider it a big deal at the time because we were long distance, and she didn't think a high school romance would last. Yeah, if the situation was reversed, do you think she'd be pissed off if he was banging a bunch of chicks? I think so. I pressed for more details, and she said it was at least 10 different men, including at least 3 guys she introduced me as friends when I came to visit on weekends, and 1 guy she's still in contact with. So, we all know that mathematical formula. Whatever number the girl gives you, multiply it times 3. Now, nowadays, for today's girls, multiply it times 18. But yes, multiply. So I don't think it's 10. I think it's way more than that. And she's introduced those dudes, and 1 guy she's still in contact with? Insult to injury here. I told her that I wanted a divorce and would be starting the paperwork as soon as I could, which I did on January 2nd. Her family and most of my family are telling me that I shouldn't throw away my marriage over a few mistakes. Who are these people? Did they not get the full story here? I stood by my belief that cheating on me with multiple guys for years is unacceptable, no matter when it happened, and the fact that she continued to maintain relationships with these guys in front of me, that was an unacceptable amount of disrespect. We have 2 children together who are 17 and 19, and I believe they will understand why I need to end the marriage. Am I wrong for leaving? I feel like I'm going nuts with the amount of people telling me to look over years of infidelity and decades of lies. Dude, you're not wrong. Not at all. I can see where the family would come. I could kind of see where the family's coming from. I don't agree with it, but I can see from their perspective if he had very small children. Now, I would still tell them to walk away, but I can see where they would get that idea. His kids are 17 and 19 years old. The one's a legal adult. The one will be a legal adult in less than a year. Yes, they'll understand. If they don't understand, well, they're assholes. But anyhow, he has a right to walk away. And I would tell all those family members to mind their own fucking business. How would you like if you were in my shoes, assholes? Kids are adults now. It's not like we have little kids. And again, even if you had little kids, I'd tell them to walk. Now as an update here, or as an edit, he says, holy crap, I'm glad I did this with a throwaway because the response here is unexpected. I obviously cannot answer every question or comment, but I wanted to provide more details for common questions. Now we're getting into the details. Now listen to this. Whoa. You guys hear that? Either Zeus is in agreement with me or he's pissed at me, one or the other. The reason I posted this is that my wife and a few friends have been saying, we all heard that part. I feel like I'm being gaslit here, but I wanted some outside perspective. We live in a state with a waiting period to finalize a divorce. So I felt it was a responsible idea and reasonable idea to get some insight before the things were finalized. After these comments, I see a handful of folks saying it's normal to sleep around during a long-distance relationship, but it seems to be a significant minority. This is Reddit. Of course, you're going to get people that are going to say that what she did was okay and you're overreacting, because those people are probably like her. Well, we saw each other a couple weekends a month during the 2-year college period. I lived about 3 hours away from her during college, so it was long distance, but not like cross-country. This was not a situation where we went months without seeing each other. The 3 guys that I met when she was in college were meetups that happened during parties. The subject of me being a boyfriend didn't really come up, so I honestly don't know if these guys knew anything. It's a possibility these guys didn't know that you were her boyfriend or she had a boyfriend at the time. But it's also possible they didn't care. Come on here. And that was a big joke. But to her, think about this, guys. He's coming to visit her. He's thinking it's a real relationship. They're exclusive. And she knows this. And she's parading him around and introducing him to guys she was fucking and sucking. This is why I say divorce her. And I might add, the obvious, she went and married him with all this knowledge anyway. And do any of you guys really think that for the last 20 years, whatever it is they've been married, that not once, given her behavior in college, she stepped out, that her mouth has been dormant that whole time? I doubt it. Also, the one guy we're still in contact with married a mutual friend from college. This is not some guy she secretly messages on the side. It's somebody we've talked to regularly for years. I've talked to him a few times since I've learned about my wife. He said he didn't know we were dating at the time and has since blocked my wife on social media. You know what? That guy could be telling the truth. Some folks have asked how the roommates didn't realize at our wedding that the timelines didn't work out. The main reason is that my wife and I had a very small ceremony with just close friends in Texas, and then went back to the East Coast to have a big party with friends. The typical reception and sharing of details about how we met didn't really happen. So her roommates didn't realize we started dating before college. It sounds like they thought we only dated for a year, that we were both in the same city, then moved in together. I'm sure that was done on purpose. He also says I was open to therapy or some kind of attempt to save the marriage, but her insistence that this whole thing is common and I'm the one who's out of line is just too much for me. Holy crap. You can actually hear that, guys? In spite of all this, and there's good reason to walk, he was actually going to try giving it a shot, which was stupid, but anyhow, and she could have saved the marriage. Nope. She has to still insist that she's right and he's wrong. That he's blowing this thing out of proportion. She had a shot to save the marriage. Nope. She's sticking with it. She had her shot. Women and accountability. The only time she showed any remorse or even offered to reconcile is when I started filing the paperwork. Well, because she knew you're serious then. In the last week, she's gone back to saying she's right and I'm overreacting. This is also why I'm feeling like I'm being gaslit here. It seems obvious that this is a major issue, but I've got my wife and others telling me it's normal and I'm overreacting. You're not overreacting. Look, he's going to take a hit. As all guys will take a hit, but it's sure as hell better than me staying with her. And you know what, a guy like this, he's 43. If he's a relationship guy after this, and we certainly won't blame him if he's not, he can get other women. I'm sure if he takes care of himself, he can get chicks 10 years younger than him, 15 years young, if he wants to, unless he's morbidly obese and has no personality, and I don't think that's the case. I think it's going to be easy for her to get relationships. If she's attractive, she'll get guys that want to bang her, but to really get serious with her, the only guys that want to get serious with a woman in her mid-40s are guys that are probably in their 50s and 60s, and she won't want them. Well, I'm not getting a pregnancy test unless my kids want to get one. I don't have any doubts that they are biologically mine, and no test will make them not my kids. I love my kids more than anything in the world, and my wife's infidelity will not change that even if one of them or both of them is not biologically mine. They've been my kids for 19 years, and they will be my kids until I stop breathing. Okay. Not all guys are that way, but if that's the case, then so be it. And I truly do hope that those kids are his kids. I mean, that would make this so much worse. Finally, he says, hey, y'all, I've been reading a bunch of the responses, but the things are going crazy and increasingly unhinged. So I probably won't be checking anymore. Have a few more answers to common questions I've seen. He says that we were definitely exclusive during the dating time. First, dating culture was a lot different 20-ish years ago, and exclusive was kind of the default for most people. Second of all, we had a long and difficult discussion before she left for college about continuing the relationship long distance. She, listen to this, she specifically wanted to stay together and even joked about her dad coming after me if I started sleeping around with girls in my school. So she's the one who wanted to stay together. And she goes off and is fucking and sucking Chad, Tyrone, Bob, and Bill, and anybody else you want to throw in there. Meanwhile, he's thinking, hey, she's true and blue. What a great girl. It's terrible. Finally, at my senior prom, she was not able to attend and was very upset when I proposed going with a platonic female friend. As a result, I ended up skipping my own prom and hanging out with her instead. While we never said the word exclusive, I think the above reasons combined with the general relationship before she left are enough to assume being exclusive. Yeah, he didn't get to go to his own prom. Now, proms are overrated. I, of course, went to the prom with a girlfriend who I was with for many years after that. But still, right there, all that together. Yeah, they were exclusive. Based on some comments here, I followed up with a friend. The friend has said I should have an honest conversation. She told me that 10 guys would be on the low end. What'd I tell you? We got some hoe math going on here. And her biggest concern was that there was apparently at least one pregnancy scare that I did not know about. This just gets getting worse and worse. I honestly didn't think that really changes much. It's less about the number for me and more about the fact that she seems incapable of recognizing why this was wrong or why I feel betrayed. She doesn't care. And again, women and accountability. Thank you all for the helpful responses, even those that disagree with me. I will still be open to therapy if she's willing. Smack! No. No therapy. Nothing. But I honestly feel like it'd be more about us being successful co-parents and finding closure than saving our marriage. There's nothing to save, dude. I think some of those negative comments from families getting to him. No. There's nothing to say. Here's the thing. As awful as everything she did, and she is awful, it would have been one thing if this got out and she admitted that she lied and cheated and she was wrong and took accountability. He probably would stay with her. But the fact is she's making him out to be the bad guy to her dying breath. No, it's over. And quite frankly, that friend of hers that told him everything and confirmed everything, in my opinion, once he divorces his wife here, if that friend is remotely attractive, like enough that he can, get hard, mostly thin, he had a banger. It's the least he can do to, get even with his ex. But anyhow, here's some comments before I wrap this whole thing up. But yes, guys, the point of the whole thing is this, is that you find this stuff out, end it. For God's sakes. But I just feel bad for this guy. 20 fucking years, whatever it is, and this is what he finds out. And he was really obvious. I guarantee you he never cheated on her. And do you think all this time she's gone with any side dick? I don't think so. But this is what happens to so many guys out there. And again, if the situation was reversed and he did all that behind the scenes when she was in college and this got out, do you think that a woman nowadays wouldn't divorce the guy? Of course they would. Now, one guy says here, she's a hypocrite because if you did that to her, she would have hauled your ass to the flame. She did it to you, introduced you to the men who pile-drived her, and tells you with manipulation and gaslighting that it was 20 men. All while you're doing your best to grow a family with a woman whose friends and family are male friends, are laughing at you behind your back because she was the most honest with anybody but you. She is a snake and deserves to get pounded by lots of men and used up like her love and emotions she used from you. And one more, this guy says, I think the OP is asking the wrong questions. It is a huge deal that his wife cheated on him during college. Hell yeah. But if she'd been faithful during those 20 years of marriage, and if she was remorseful, I would say try counseling first. But, in my humble opinion, her reaction now is what makes her cheating 20 years ago almost unforgivable. Well, no, it is. Oh, this is absolutely unforgivable. Basically, what OP wrote, saying, I was open to therapy or some kind of attempt to save the marriage, but her insistence that this whole thing is common and I'm the one who's out of line is just too much for me. Right. She had a shot, but nope, she could admit she's wrong. And I bet there's a lot of guys that have been through this and are just laughing at this. Because, they gave their girlfriend or wife a way out, and nope, to their dying breath, nope, the girl's right and you're wrong. And last one says here, I hate being so late to these, especially when the account was deleted, but dude is so far, in a way, not the a-hole. It's not even funny. His ex-wife sucks. I hope divorce court shoved the book down her throat. She and her friends can say all they want about how it was just high school romance and doesn't matter, but the truth is, it truly doesn't matter. The truth would take upwards up to 2 decades to come out. And just to be extra fair here, the female demographic seems to be increasingly apologetic of infidelity among women. But if a man were to do the same thing and not tell the truth until 20 years later, it'd make national headlines. So, not the a-hole. I hope OP checks back from time to time so they know. Correct. Everybody's saying what I'm thinking. And you all know it. If a guy did the same thing and it got out 20 years later, he'd be tar and feathered, amongst many other things. They lit on fire over this whole thing. So anyhow, guys, there you go. You find these things out in the past, and it's that bad, on top of the fact that you're labeled a bad guy for, God forbid, wanting to end a marriage, or she acts like your feelings and all that, no big deal. You know what to do. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.